Hey y'all, it is Tasha here, back with another video this week. Yay! We are on episode 13 of season 11 of Married at First Sight. So we are back to talk about this thing and see how this episode went. So let's get it started, y'all. This week, it is basically, we have now officially entered quarantine. Production has been shut down. So basically at this point, I'm assuming from here going forward, we have to see the couples basically documenting their own journey and then see them having, of course, like these Zoom meetings with the experts until decision day. At this point, since decision day has come and gone, I don't know if they're still in limbo, like in real life, if they're still in limbo, since we are technically still in quarantine, or if they figured out some way to, of course, make decisions to wrap this on up. I hope it is already wrapped up. But I don't know, because I don't follow any of the people on the show on social media, so I don't know what's going on. But we're going to talk about this episode and jump right into it. We saw the Bob and Amelia in her confessional last week, and this week we see that she gave herself the Bob. She was like, quarantine, giving myself a haircut, and the Bob is cute, girl. Told you that last week. Real cute little DIY Bob. So good. We also learned a little bit of TMI information of Bennett uses only one tissue square to wipe. Yeah, I definitely could have done without that information. As much as I am for the environment as well, and I, want everybody else to be, I don't feel like one square is doing it, Bennett. I could be wrong, but we might want to double check on that, okay? All right. So we see them just kind of in the house chilling. Amelia's riding the unicycle. They're just making cute little videos with each other. And then this week we find out that Amelia has officially been matched and she needs to go to Virginia for her residency. So we'll get to see how that plays out a little bit later in the episode. We did see Amani give Woody some gifts. We saw him give her the anniversary gifts last week, and this week Amani gives him one gift for each of his senses, which was such a cute idea. I had never seen that, and I was like, that's so cute. But she finds out that she's like officially in love with him, and she was ready to tell him, so that was her little cute idea of doing that. And then we see the camera kind of jump for 2 weeks later, and we see them arguing about DMs. Like, there's some cuss words and it looks like it's getting a little bit heated, but I was like, I know how Married at First Sight like to do us. They like to hype it up, and then when you see the situation, it ain't nothing. So I was like, all right, let's just see how it's gonna play out later. Then we see Christina and Henry. They had seemed to be doing a little bit better in quarantine when we first got the glimpse of them. And then a couple minutes later, we see that it's Henry's birthday. And Christina has forgotten that it is his birthday. I'm like, girl, at this point, y'all have been married for a couple months now. I'm sure he mentioned when his birthday was, or, maybe he's talked about something coming up, or he said he got a lot of text messages and phone calls. So it's like you still didn't get the hint of remembering it is his birthday. Okay. And then to top that off, like I think it was maybe the next day or sometime that week or whatever, Christina tells Henry that she's going out on a walk, and it's like 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, and homegirl don't come home till like 3 o'clock in the morning. So I was like, okay, now if Henry would have forgotten your birthday or left the house saying he was going on a walk and didn't return to the wee hours of the morning, you would be tripping, girl. Don't do stuff that you do not want done to you and then get mad about it. I don't like that kind of stuff. And I know for a fact if that had happened to her, she would have been completely pissed at Henry. But they ain't gonna make it anyway, so it don't even really matter. After them, we see a little bit of Karen and Miles. We see that Karen still has to go to work because she does work in healthcare. Miles is at home because, he worked in a school, and of course that was the first thing that shut down was school at the beginning of quarantine. So of course he's like at home by himself all day. She's going to work. When she gets home, she's tired. So he's feeling like there's a lack of attention that's coming towards him from her, because they even kind of showed clips, and it seems as if even when they are home, if he's like has his hand on her or something, she's like strolling through her phone or just kind of laying there on the computer or something. It's still not like in that situation, I think they're kind of both at fault, because I think while yes, she is tired and he is pretty restless because he's at home, I still think they have to figure out how to use the time that they do have together wisely, and still try to give each other the attention that you need, while of course giving Karen some rest and relaxation as well, because she was still going to work. And I remember those first few weeks and few months of quarantine was really rough in healthcare, and those people were working a ton of hours. So I get it on both sides, but they got to work it out, because I think it was a lot just all at once with, you know, just being married, Karen not sure if she liked him, quarantine, you know, COVID, the nervousness of, like, it's just a lot happening all at the same time. And I know it's hard to then try to put in that extra effort so soon and trying to navigate all of that when you've only been married a couple months to a stranger. So we then shift to Britt and Olivia. They were pretty boring in the beginning. Y'all, I know I'm probably being super petty, but it drove me crazy seeing their cats just walking and sitting and just all over the place. I'm just like, get the cat off the counter, get the cat off the table, move. That's why I'm always leery about people who got cats. I'm like, they just be all over the place, all over the place. Oh, that aggravated me. But we see Olivia, she is of course working because she's a nurse practitioner, and then when she does get a break, she wants to go and visit her family. Brett feels some kind of way because of course pandemic, about her going to visit her family, and while she is away, Brett packs up his stuff and moves right on back to his house. These two, oh my gosh, they are a mess. So once Olivia, you know, gets back and sees that, she has her round of chatting with Dr. Pepper, and he has his round of chatting with Pastor Cal, which we see that's the trend throughout the episode. The wives are meeting with Dr. Pepper and the husbands are meeting with Pastor Cal. So first up in that whole I guess journey is Olivia meeting with Dr. Pepper, and she basically says that she's seen no growth since the production has stopped, and their communication is basically still horrible. They continue to argue about the same points, and there's really no resolution around it, which is kind of what we've seen as a trend from them so far. And she definitely says, you know, how he has left. And it seems that it boils down to Britt being afraid of COVID, because she kind of talks about that, asking him if he was afraid, and he was kind of like, yeah. So I think just with her mindset of her working in healthcare, she's like, I'm in it every day. People that work in healthcare, you're just like, it's a part of the job. You mask up, you put on your PPE, and you just keep it moving. Where for Britt, it's kind of like, no, we need to probably live in a bubble and not do anything or go anywhere because I'm afraid. But him being his macho, I guess probably jerk of a self, it's hard for him to express that. And I feel like that's probably more so why he left, is because, I mean, she was going to be around her family. He wasn't sure if she could bring back COVID, so maybe that had a bit to do with it. I don't know, but he didn't verbalize that from what we saw. He didn't verbalize it that well. And Dr. Pepper does ask her if she thinks she contributed a little bit to him leaving. And she does say, you know, she admits that it's her, she played a part in it a little, but there's been little to no effort on both sides of the fence with them. So they're just not going to make it. We see Britt meeting with Pastor Cal to see how things are going. And this is what I'm saying about him. It's like, he doesn't communicate, and then he kind of deflects and avoids, because Pastor Cal is asking him, and he's like, oh, the cats were fighting, and I told her, I'm just, you know, the cat just can't keep getting scratched up or whatever, so I was just gonna go home. And Pastor Cal gave him the same look. I was like, sir, we going home because of the cats? Is this what we gonna blame it on? The cats? Because the cats can't talk. So okay, do your thing. That's what we blame it on, is the cats. And then he says that he thinks they're just friend zoned and that may be the best option for them, which I don't even think they're good as friends, if I'm being honest. But he sits down once Olivia, he's done, and then him and Olivia get together and basically talk about their conversations that they had with the experts. And Olivia is straightforward and asks him basically, is there anything you think that we can do to get us going in the other direction? And he's honest and he says no. And I'm for one relieved that hopefully we are finally off this train wreck and we just let these two people go their separate ways, because they're just not going to stay married. It's just too many button heads and the communication being off, and that's really the foundation of a marriage. Is going to have to be good communication. If you can't do that now and nobody's willing to kind of bend and sway the other way, yeah, you're left with really not many other options. But we see that Karen then meets with Dr. Pepper to see how it's going since quarantine, and we can see that it looks like Miles has stepped up a lot. He's cleaning, he's cooking, still trying to make sure, he's being accommodating for her since she still has to go to work. And this heifer is still trying to act like he is not being his authentic self. Karen is driving me crazy. Every chance she gets, she is questioning or putting out there to somebody, I wonder if he's being his true self. Is this really him? Is he going to change? Karen, I just want to slap her in the face. But as she's talking to Dr. Pepper, she continues to call his masculinity into play. And that made me so upset with her. Like, Miles has already made it pretty clear of kind of what type of guy he is, how he's not afraid to discuss his emotions. He's really in touch with what he, how he feels. He can communicate himself very well verbally. Like, he is emotionally in tune with himself, and Karen simply cannot handle it. It pissed me off so much when she said he called her sis. My girlfriends call me sis, so I don't want him calling me sis. Like, are you really picking... Are we really nitpicking that he called you sis and your girlfriends call you that, so you don't want your husband calling you that? And that basically makes you question his masculinity. She is exhausting, y'all. She is exhausting. I think Karen keeps saying she's afraid that Miles is still suppressing his feelings and not really, just being outright with her. And I think it's because I think at some point, and we saw it a little bit, that Miles is just getting so irritated and frustrated that he's like, what's the point? Like, everything that I do, she has something to say about it. So really, what's the point of me continuing to try? And I can't blame the man for it, honestly. So then she cries while she's talking to Dr. Pepper, because she then says, he asked him if, we had to make a decision today. And he said that he wouldn't want to stay married. And her and Christina pulled something like this. And it's like, why are you crying and getting upset when you know you have not really been much of an active participant in trying to make this work? But now you want to cry and be upset because you want the man to still chase after you and want you regardless of how you're treating him. And then when he feels like he doesn't want to put up with that anymore and be with you, now you're crying because you feel like you're being rejected. Make it make sense, because I don't get it. If you're not really trying and giving it your all and the man is just not going to sit around and wait forever for you to get your act together and just continue to fawn all over you while you figure out your feelings towards him. Karen, stop with the tears. I was not here for it, y'all. Not at all. We see that Miles then meets with Pastor Cal, and he does share that they've struggled. He's of course very affectionate. We've seen that all along, and he's like telling Pastor Cal, like it's really much of nothing, like no hand holding, definitely no sex with them. And he's like, if we've ever kissed since we've known each other, yes, but it doesn't seem like it's like genuine kissing and affection and that kind of thing going on with him. And I know that had to be hard for Miles when that's kind of his love language, and if he's not getting that from his spouse, I'm pretty sure it just feels like he's getting nothing at all. So, but I think that their problem is she feels like if she's too vulnerable with him, that she's probably losing control of herself. And I think she's afraid of that control because maybe with her last relationship that has done so much damage to her that if she gives her all and lose control and then she gets hurt, then she doesn't know how to handle that. So I think that's where she's coming from with Miles, and not just falling for him. And I'm not saying falling in love with him, but you're in this, enjoy it. Fall when you're at home with him. Let that be your safe space, and fall into his arms and cuddle with him and watch a movie and do all that stuff. Doesn't mean that you losing yourself or you falling head over heels with him, but at least break down something, Karen. Like, you got to give us something. But it's driving me crazy because she just will not get out of her own head of what she thinks a man is supposed to do, is supposed to look like, is supposed to treat her, that she can't see a good man in front of her right now, probably giving her the things that she absolutely knows she needs, but her mind can't get her away from what she's used to. So Miles does ask her once they get together, asks her if she has the capacity to give based on what his needs are. And I don't really feel like she gave a sufficient answer to that question, because she's like, oh, I'm trying to figure out, if your needs are touching, is that just touching your arm, touching your head, holding your hand? Karen, girl, he has told you this from day one, that he is like affectionate, emotional, and all this other stuff. So don't sit here and act like you don't know what he needs to feel loved in this relationship, girl. You are giving us excuse after excuse, and I'm not here for it. Over it. Over it. You can't say you don't know. You know, you're just not willing to give it to Miles. Point blank in the period. Next, Amelia meets with Dr. Pepper, and she just says how amazing Bennett has been throughout quarantine. Like, he's just been so great. She's been volunteering at a shelter, and when she comes home, just whatever he's doing, he puts it down and immediately kind of checks in on her, sees how her day went that day. And then, of course, Amelia shares that she's been matched and she's going to have to go to Virginia, and she said that they haven't come to a resolution yet on what will happen with the two of them, because she does feel like that's a really big ask to have him move with her. But basically after that, we see that Bennett meets with Pastor Cal, and he says that the most difficult conversation they had were in regards to children. Because basically Bennett is saying, I think I need to now be more, financially sound, because it seems like Amelia is ready to have kids in the next, few months, a year or two. And Bennett is like, give us like 4 or 5 years and then maybe we'll be ready. So I think this marriage may actually mature him a bit, where he was kind of just all over the place doing whatever. And as long as he could survive, he was good. But now that he has a wife and he knows that he will have a family someday, maybe getting more serious in some type of career to make sure he has enough income coming in. So good job. You're growing up, Bennett. So when it comes to moving, he said he's flying by the seat of his pants. When Pastor Cal asked him, I was like, well, what does that mean? Because she's going to have to go. So what does that mean for you? And then we kind of get a clearer picture on that once him and Amelia sits down and they talk about how, things are going and how it went with their conversation with the experts, that they are able to compromise on the kids. Of Amelia's like, no, I want you to be as happy when it comes to us having children, and with it being like, yay, I can't wait, and not, oh my God, what are we going to do? So, of course, she's willing to wait for him. And then Bennett does share that he's decided that he's going to split his time between New Orleans and Virginia. And Amelia seemed to be very happy with that. Because, again, she said it was a big ask and it was a big compromise to move with someone, although, she's his wife. They just met a couple months ago, so it would be big to get him to, leave his life behind. So she was ecstatic that he was able to come to the decision that he wanted to split his time between both places to still be with her. So I just love them. They just continue to be such a great couple and great with communication, which is like unheard of for a couple so young in their marriage. So kudos to them. We see Christina meets with Dr. Pepper, and she's annoyed that Henry is never home, because basically it seems like his job has him working remotely, but maybe, I don't know if he can't do that in the apartment or if he needs to be closer. I don't know what the deal is, but she said that he was working from his place during the day, during the weekdays, and then he goes to the grocery store like twice a day. I'm like, yeah, Henry just trying to get out of there and away from her. And then she's like, and then he goes to the store, and I know he's like passing by flowers, and I'm just like, he doesn't think, Christina would like these flowers. Like, I thought we had left the flowers at the wedding, but here we are again, talking about some damn flowers. Eye roll. Christina says that she wants to be married when Dr. Pepper asks her, which I truly believe is true, but I don't think she wants to be married to Henry. I think she wants to be married only in the sense of having the title of husband and wife, but I don't think she wants to be married in the sense of doing the work and having to actually work with a spouse and compromise and be kind and think about somebody else. I don't think she's ready for that, if I'm being honest, but that's what she says. Henry meets with Pastor Cal, and he said that Christina was dishonest and talks about her living situation, which we all saw red flags when it was moving day, and she was like, oh, I kind of just got my stuff in the car, and it was like, huh? He said that, yeah, it was like something's up with that. And then honestly, the more I see Henry, he's comfortable almost talking to everybody except Christina. When he's around the fellas, when he talked with Amani, when he talks with the experts, he's so comfortable talking to everybody else. But because he doesn't enjoy Christina, he doesn't like talking to her. And it's like awkward. But we see that change just a little bit later in the episode, because they both get together and talk about, of course, how the experts, how their conversation with the experts went. And Henry was a little straight up with her. He was giving me everything I needed when he was on that couch with his leg crossed and telling her what it was. And I think she needed to hear that, because he's probably suppressed what his real thoughts are so much, or tiptoed around her so much that she hasn't seen that side. And I felt like she was a bit shocked that, he was saying all this, and I was like, get at it, Henry. I am here for all of it. Because he was calling her out on how she was dishonest about her living situation, about at the wedding. She said she lived in the CBD downtown area, and then once they moved, she said she was just had her stuff in a car in storage, and it just, stuff like that just did not add up, and she tried to defend herself. And then once she started to try to defend herself, here came the tears. Oh, poor Christina. I was like, girl, if you don't stop with these poor white woman victim tears, honey, because I'm not here for it. And that's what I'm saying earlier about her and Karen. Felt like they tried to play that same card of, let me start crying because now I'm upset that he doesn't want to be with me, although I put no effort into this marriage and showing this man that I actually love him, but I don't want him to leave me. Girl, bye. I was over it, because I'm like, I'm not here for these games, Christina. And I'm so happy that Henry was like, he was looking like he was fed the F up with her on that couch, and he was not here for those crocodile tears either. And then lastly, we see Amani meet with Dr. Pepper, and she shares how they both said that they love each other. And she does talk about the argument that we saw the clip from earlier about the DMs. And it seemed like it was basically coming off as a joke at first, of her saying, let me see these hoes, you got the DMs, or something like that. And then it kind of got a little bit serious, because she kind of took it as a joke. Woody took it as an offense to his privacy, basically saying that he has nothing to hide. Why does she want to see it? So I think just how they looked at it differently probably caused it to get a little bit more heated than it needed to be. But they basically both said, as they were talking, that they were able to resolve it the same day, and there was no issue. So basically, that's what I'm saying about these previews. Make it seem like they about to have an all-out, drag-out fight, and they like, nope, talked about it, did it, squashed it, done. But after that, we see that it seems like their biggest issue, or the biggest thing there are different pages about, is the children, which we knew if Woody could put a baby in Amani during the honeymoon, he would have done that. And Amani's like, pump your brakes. Let's still work on this puppy first, and then let's work on the baby. But, they seem to be working that out. And he says, that he's willing to wait for the babies, of course, because he's not going anywhere. He sees this as being, in here for the long haul. So he knows it's going to come. And I'm like, Woody, you basically have no choice, because you don't carry the babies. You're not the one with the uterus. So you got to wait. Okay? Thank you. So Henry drops a bomb at the very end of Christina coming home and basically saying that she got a text from a reliable source that it was a guy saying that Henry was sleeping with this guy. So that Henry is basically secretly gay on the show. Ciao. If you don't stop lying on this man and get your bags and get up out of here, I am over you. I am over you. She's just making this up. She wouldn't even show him the text. I was like, we have gone here, Christina, with the antics. This is where we going? I can't. Anyway, we see next week the couples all meet up and look like they go on a little retreat together. And we are sure when they all get together, things will get interesting. So next week should be good. How did y'all enjoy this episode? How did y'all think the conversations went with the experts? Let's chat below and let me know how you feel. All right. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you get out here. Thumbs up the video and I'll catch y'all next week. Peace.